Why is it so scary for us to show vulnerability in public? Today, I'm going to share with you 4 tips or 4 hacks that I've learned on how and why we should overcome this fear. My name is Ethan King. I've been a full time entrepreneur for over 15 years. A few weeks ago, I was in Washington, D.C., attending an immersive global leadership academy. It was literally all day from 6 a.m. to midnight with 30 of the highest achieving entrepreneurs from all over the world. A few of us realized that we have very beneficial information that we should share with the world instead of hoarding it. So we challenged each other to share something publicly for 60 consecutive business days. And if I don't share, then I have to donate $50 to charity. So I thought that this would be a lot easier. I've spoken on stages before, and I thought it would be easy, but I'm finding it challenging to speak to a camera and to share this with the world. In fact, last night I spent hours recording, trying to get the perfect video, and then I woke up this morning and I absolutely hated it and decided that it's crap and I'm not going to share it. Maybe one day I'll share it with you guys later, but what's on my heart this morning is why do I feel that way? Like, why does everything have to be so perfect? Why do I care so much about what other people think? And how do we overcome this fear? Today we'll be unpacking this, and I'll share with you 4 hacks I've learned so far. First, I think about someone who's very influential, someone who I admire, and how they've shared vulnerability and it actually benefited them and benefited the world. For example, I think about Oprah Winfrey. She very openly has talked about her childhood and how she was molested as a little girl and she grew up dirt poor. And then as an adult, she struggled with weight loss and weight gain. And yet now she's the richest black woman in the entire world. I think about the rapper Eminem and how he's very openly talked about his drug addiction problems and his relationship issues with his daughter's mother and how he actually fantasizes about murdering her sometimes. And it seems dark and it seems crazy and something that most of us would be ashamed about, yet Eminem is regarded as one of the best rappers of all time. So think about someone you admire and times when they've lost it all or they've showed their weakness and the world knew about their vulnerability and that's actually become their strength and has helped them and helped others. My second hack is I think about times when I've been vulnerable and it's actually benefited me and benefited other people. Just 5 years ago, I joined a peer to peer entrepreneur support group called EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. And one of the first things you do when you join EO is this exercise called a lifeline. And you share your highest and your lowest moments in your life with very confidentially, of course, with a small group of people called your forum. And this was the first time that I had ever done an exercise like this. And I shared out some of my deepest, darkest secrets with complete strangers, and it was very uncomfortable. But after the meeting, one of the guys in my group came up to me and he said, "Hey, I know this reporter. I'm going to put you guys in touch. I was super moved by your story and you need to share that with the world." So the reporter calls me and we sit down and he interviews me, and I very reluctantly share some of the darkest moments in my life, like the time when I was broke and I had to take a job taking out trash at a strip club in order to make ends meet. And then I got carjacked and ended up turning my life around. And again, this guy was so moved by the story, and I thought it was just my life. I didn't even want anybody to know about that stuff. But what ended up happening is that he published the story. Secrets to Success was the name of the column. And I actually was on the front page of the Atlanta Journal Constitution business section 3 times in 1 year. In fact, he said that it was the most shared story out of the entire column. So that was the time when I shared vulnerability. And then also just earlier this year, I was an MC at a conference and I stood on a stage and shared some more deep, dark secrets about myself with 750 entrepreneurs. I confessed how in my past I used to be a criminal and I went to jail twice and I got kicked out of college. I told the unfiltered story of my journey in front of complete strangers. And after that, literally hundreds of people came up to me to thank me throughout the rest of the conference. So these were times that I showed vulnerability and it was rewarding. My third hack is to think about times when someone else shared something publicly and it helped me. How many times have we learned something for free on YouTube from a complete stranger? Well, that person took a risk and they put themselves out there and you benefited from that information. I remember one time I looked up on YouTube. In fact, I was preparing for that same conference earlier this year and I looked up how to start a speech because I didn't know how I would open. And the stuff I learned in that video helped me succeed. And I didn't even commit the guy's name to memory at the time. But as fate would have it, a few months later, I met him at Global Leadership Academy. And you should look him up and follow him. His name is Connor Neal. So shout out to Connor. Make sure you look him up. And you know, if he had not been vulnerable and shared his information publicly and taken that leap, then I would not have benefited. So it behooves us to share the light. So my fourth and final tip is to remember this quote. You will never be criticized by someone doing more than you. You will only be criticized by someone doing less. Think about that for a minute and let it sink in. You will never be criticized by someone doing more than you. You will only be criticized by someone doing less. President Theodore Roosevelt said that it is not the critic who counts. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena. And Brene Brown, the queen of vulnerability, references this quote in her Netflix special. And I love the way that she said it best. If you aren't in the arena also getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback. So that's it, guys. These 4 hacks are what helped me get over the fear, but I have to remind myself of them constantly. And I hope that this helps you too. So if there are any other tips that you have, please share them in the comments below. If you like what you heard here today, subscribe to my channel because everything we discuss on this channel will be about designing your best life and becoming the best possible version of yourself. Peace.